Hi everybody, Devinder here from Midland Property Investments and another episode of Property Question Time. I'm looking to have with me a neighbour of mine. He's Jim Haliburton, aka HMO Daddy, and Jim has the most number of HMO rooms that I know anyone in England, over 1,000 rooms. And so, welcome, Jim.
Welcome. Nice talking to you.
Hi, Jim. So, as I said, we are neighbours. I actually live in Warsaw. I say Birmingham, but it's Warsaw, and Jim's in Darlaston. So, Jim, 1,000 rooms. That's a lot. Can you tell the audience over how long that to get 1,000 rooms?
Yeah, it built up over the last 27 years. Started one property which had I think 5 rooms in, and gradually over the years built up, and just the habit I've got into is to acquire properties and building up. In fact, it will become quite a lot larger because I'm going into large HMOs.
Okay.
I'm currently doing one of the largest HMOs outside London, which when finished will have 220 rooms in. Currently it's only got 38, and we'll very soon have 72 rooms in there, and that's in the centre of Wolverhampton.
Okay.
Move on, try different things.
Right. Okay. So, you've taken over a number of years, but you wasn't always a HMO landlord. So, did you have a job before that? I know that.
Yeah, not really a proper job. This.
Yeah.
I did a lot in my youth, and then settled down as a college lecturer and spent 20, looking back on it, fairly idyllic years as a college lecturer. Always had the taste for teaching, and that's why I still do lots of lecturing, run courses, talk at events. I just love sharing what I know, helping other people get on, and I'm probably part of the reason why so many people are moving into the HMO business, which I'm criticised by my staff for, by increasing competition.
Right.
But hey ho.
Okay.
There we go.
So you were a lecturer before that. Okay. And then how did you decide? Were you doing this part time, or did you get made redundant, or did you see an opportunity that no one else saw?
Right. Well, back in the early 80s, I wanted to get into property, but I got married, and my wife liked the idea of just playing happy families.
Okay.
I go to work at 9 o'clock, come back at 5 o'clock, I put my slippers on. The idea of running my own business wasn't appealing to her, and buy property. And we watched property in our area go from 10,000 to 140,000 in the space of 10 years.
Wow.
And that sort of brought home to me what opportunities I was missing. So in 1991 I decided to take the plunge and bought my first property. It was very easy because I was a college lecturer, and the college was crying out for accommodation. It's not like now where you've got big investors coming in, building all these large blocks. In those days they were relying on landladies, and students didn't want landladies, they wanted their own properties. So it was comparatively easy. I went out and bought my first property. In those days you couldn't get mortgages or anything else like that for investment properties. So I scratched my head and thought, well, how can I get property? Because college lecturer, the old definition of a job, just over broke, you live to what you're earning. So I didn't really have very much in the way of savings or anything else to do that. And I came across a book, How to Get Credit in Your Own Name from 30 to 100,000 by a firm called Streetwise Publications, which I discovered the other day is still in existence. And that explained to me that if you get credit cards, you can borrow all the money you want on a credit card. So that's what I did. I got about a dozen credit cards, borrowed the purchase price. I mean, looking back now, it's peanuts. It's only 35,000 from first property. Got my credit cards and bought my first property. That's why if you have a look at my business card, it's a credit card to show you how easy it was to start. Now the average price of a property in my area would be over 100k. A bit more difficult, but you can still do it.
Yeah. Jim, I've heard that a number of times. Though you can.
I'm boring you. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
sleep there. Yeah.
But how do you actually? You can't just use a credit card to buy a buy a property, can you? Or what?
No.
How does it work? So,
Again, life is so. You look back now, you see how lucky you are. All you have to do is just make the move.
Yeah.
And with me, luck seems to have followed me. You go into the bank and you say, "Here's my credit card.
Yeah.
Can I take cash out on it?" And those days, if you had £5,000 on your credit card, you can go and take 5,000 cash out. Now you can only take 2,500, so you'll have to have twice as many credit cards. So you get £3,000 and you get £5,000, you take it up,
Right.
and then you go down to the solicitor and say, "There's my £35,000. I want to buy that house." And you could walk around with a carrier bag full of cash in those days. Now you'd be done for money laundering, but that's comparatively simple. Or you could put it into your bank account, put money into your bank account. You don't have to carry it around in a bag. It'd be stupid if you get robbed. But you take the money out of the bank, put it into your bank account, and then you write a cheque for your solicitor.
Okay, because I've heard it a number of times, but no one's actually told me how it's actually done. Okay, right, okay.
But it's even better. In those days, when I took all this money out, I had 35,000 on credit cards, which is, in those days, was about 20% interest.
Wow.
But because the income from the HMO was so awesomely good compared to the purchase price, because in those days, again, you didn't have to do all this expenses, adaptations, fire doors and all the rest of it.
Right.
You just chucked beds in every room. And the students moved in. They thought, great, we'll redecorate it. By the way, the redecoration I'm very loose about. They'll wreck the room for you, but that's what they do. So don't do anything particularly nice for them. And it worked.
Right.
And the income I got from those 5 rooms paid the interest on the credit cards, but then they brought in free balance transfers. 0% balance transfers. People didn't believe you could do it.
Right.
And so I did is take all that 35,000 and transfer it into free balance transfers.
Right.
Wow, I mean, it's just there's money for nothing.
Right,
It
okay.
was, so I went on and bought other properties, but then I made a few mistakes. I just had beginner's luck. I was very lucky, beginner's luck, and then I'd learnt the hard way, because the properties I bought after that, I focused too much on the cheap rather than the condition of the property, and I had to spend a lot on building work. And then I had problems with our great British builders, and the problems you had there. I got rift up, left, right, and centre.
Right.
Building work. If you think it's going to cost you £1,000, budget at least £2,000.
Right.
If it's going to take a week, budget at least 2 or 4 weeks. And all those problems that people have, which I didn't realise I'd run into. But anyway, I persevered, struggled on, and now it's just like shelling peas. That's why it's so easy. Mind you, I'm not saying that the 220 bed has been a nightmare,
Right.
but doing a standard 6-bed HMO is just routine now. It's not really any great shakes.
But you've got a formula which is proven successful in this area.
Correct.
So you know straight away that, and you're probably going to appraise this HMO in seconds or minutes, you could say.
Correct.
Right, okay. So your property portfolio started growing. When did you actually give up your job to become this full time then?
Right. How long was I lecturing for? I started in the 80s. It gave up on me. Unfortunately, the college that I was in closed down. There's always colleges opening, there's colleges closing, and right at the boom of the big increase in higher education, they closed my college down. And it was either leave or get sacked or made redundant. So I decided to take early retirement. And I still wanted to go back into lecturing. But by that time, property had taken over. And if I'd been offered a job in lecturing, I'd have probably stayed in lecturing and been much more slower.
Right.
But then, having not had a job, by that time I built up a portfolio of about 20 HMOs,
Wow.
18 single lets, which I managed myself. And it wasn't that hard. I had more time then managing my own properties, having a full-time lecturing job, and actually ran a business. And part of the reason I actually bought properties was to subsidise the business, because when you got a business, your staff it was doing security, and you get peaks and troughs. So to iron out the troughs, the property was I used my staff to work on the property, and then when things were busy on the other side, which was much more profitable, the security side, they'd work on the security installations, and that helped me build up. Because one of the big problems in this business is having your builders, and I've got a team now, been with me now almost 18 years, and they work reasonably well. But in the early days, it was extremely difficult. And that's how I managed. I became full-time, and I decided to stop managing the property myself, employ staff to do it, because it's fairly mundane. You're nothing more than a chambermaid, or sometimes I'm feeling a bit racked off, nothing more than a doormat as being a landlord.
Right.
There's nothing particularly difficult about it. Just make sure the room is clean, people have got what they want, sort out their problems, no great shakes and all that. So I thought I'd get staff to do that, not realising that staff is a real problem. I've got some great staff now, but it still needs a lot of ability to manage them and get them to do work at the best. I bought a lot more properties thinking that would become more profitable, but I don't think property is an area that particularly well scales. The people who do successful in HMOs, and take this as a bit of advice, keep to about 10 or 20 HMOs, do it yourself,
right,
and then it works, because you don't count your own labour, you don't take into account you have to go out at midnight to sort out a problem and all the rest of it. You don't have to have staff on 24 hours and pay them to be on 24 calls.
Well, okay, right. But I assume there are some upsides after you've been through the some rough period as well. Things were going well, but I also know that maybe when the recession hit, you had a bit of a downturn. So can you tell me a little bit about that, and then how did you overcome it?
Yeah, the recession was pretty bad. It came sort of a bit of a slam. And I should have expected it, because one of the reasons I bought so many properties, in 2004, I went out and bought a property a week. I expected the recession to hit.
Right.
And I'll get in now, fill my boots,
Yeah.
before lenders stopped lending. And it just carried on and carried on. And I got lulled into a false sense of security. Gordon Brown, I've got a lot to blame for, because he said we put an end to boom and bust.
Yeah.
And therefore, when 2008 hit,
Yeah.
it hit me like a hammer.
Right.
And I really did struggle through that period afterwards. So I changed my strategy after 2008. So stopped buying stuff in my own name. So I don't have properties anymore. I JV with other investors, and still carry on with the properties I've got. Once you've started, you got to continue. And now I'm looking at the bigger, larger HMOs.
And what's the benefits of doing bigger projects?
It's all to do with profit.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bigger the property, you get the economies of scale.
Yeah.
Everything is in one place, so it's much easier to do this. But it's price per unit. So the
Is that to buy, you mean?
the price to buy per unit. A 6-bed, 3 6-beds houses are not as profitable as one 18-bed HMO. You probably get 50% more profit out of an 18-bed HMO than you do out of a 3 6-bed HMOs.
Right, okay. And does that sort of, I mean, I'm asking you, on the larger HMOs, are there higher turnover of tenants, or do they stay a bit longer?
Makes no difference.
Oh.
I can't detect any change between a large HMO and a small HMO. You've got to remember that though they're a large HMO, it's just all the people in one place. But they're split into units of 6. Most of them will be in 6.
Okay.
So it's a bit like having a row of houses with 6 people in each.
Right.
Let me just open the door. This person buzzing away here.
Okay, right, hi. Are you both still working? It's a working day?
Sorry about that.
No problem at all. So Jim, things going well, and then the recession hit, and what strategy did you change? And then, because did you used to have professionals before, or what changes did you make?
Yeah. Pre 2008, I tried letting to unemployed. People have said, unemployed are good tenants and all this.
Yeah.
I found the tenants were too hard to handle, take too much effort, and then you're dealing with the bureaucracy.
Right.
I can cope with the bureaucracy. It's just a lot of time and effort. But the particular tenants I didn't like dealing with, they're too much effort. So if you got a choice, I went for working tenants.
Right.
2008, no one worked in my area. So I went from less than, I think at the time, 6% unemployed,
Right.
up to 60% in the space of only a few months.
Wow.
When I analysed that. Now we're down below 20% unemployed.
Okay.
We will let unemployed people, but very few fit into the criteria that we take tenants on. And that was a big problem. You've got two problems. You've got the recession. I had projects to finish off. I couldn't get finance. And then we had the whole change to dealing with unemployed tenants and the bureaucracy, and I didn't adapt fast enough. Looking back now, you're wise after the event.
Yeah.
If I'd geared up to dealing with unemployed and put more focus into it, I could have had a, I want to say easy time, still a rough time.
Right.
So now I've changed my strategy. We find, overall, you find dealing with working are generally better, but my best tenants are my long-term unemployed.
Right.
Most people, you got to look upon it, it's a business.
Yeah.
So what you want is a tenant who pays,
Yeah.
stays, doesn't complain, and a bit of gratitude doesn't go amiss, but it's
Yeah.
not essential. And you get that from long-term
Right.
unemployed tenants.
Okay.
So don't dismiss it. It's put it this way: most tenants are good.
Yeah.
But the real problem tenants come with the unemployed, and they take a disproportionate amount of time.
Right.
So if you avoid that, you avoid the real problems.
Okay.
But I'm not saying all unemployed are problems. It's just like everything, a small minority. But the legal system for private landlords does not allow us to cope with a difficult unemployed tenant. We can't evict at will.
Right.
You've got to go through a very laborious legal system. And being a bit cynical, I think the council almost love the fact that these tenants are causing riot to your property and
Right.
damaging your property, and assist them in their staying where they are, instead of helping us to get rid of the tenants.
Right.
And warning other landlords, you've got some seriously dysfunctional people
Yeah.
out there.
And you're providing a service, you know, but I think, yeah, I know what you're feeling, that you feel that sometimes the authorities don't appreciate the service that you're helping them. Okay, so...
I wouldn't quite say there's a lot in the system. It's just a dysfunctional market.
Right.
No one sat down and said, "Hang on, what's wrong?"
Yeah.
Everyone just says private landlords are bad,
Yeah.
social housing is good,
Yeah.
simple, without saying, "Look, where there's good and bad in everything." And private landlords have a role to play, but if they're going to deal with difficult tenants, they need to be supported in that area. And there's a lot in the council who work very hard and are very dedicated to help and
Right.
provide a service to society. And then you got what I call the left wingers, politically motivated, who would destroy the world
Right.
to make a political point.
Right, okay. So, obviously, we talked about how you started off, but then you've already touched on this. How do you go from, say, 6-bed HMOs, which is your say bread and butter, to a £2 million project? Yeah. Can you tell me how does that happen? How does the audience get to those kind of projects? How do they get those projects?
They're actually much easier to do, strange enough, than the 6-bed HMO.
Okay, right.
It's just the magnitude of risk factor.
Yeah.
And it's all very well easy for me to say that, because
Yeah.
I've heard it said at the time, the difference between a £100,000 project and a £1 million project is just the noughts involved.
Yeah. I've heard that as well.
And when you're dealing with a large projects like that, there's very little competition. You try and go and buy a cheap, small terraced house,
Yeah.
you'll have 20 or 30 people turning up for it.
Right.
If you go and look at a £2 million commercial building
Right.
in any of the big towns in the West Midlands, you'll be the only one there. And
Okay.
you'll probably have two letting agents breathing all over you, trying to get you to take on the project. It's just the scale of it. And it was more to do with the fact that the key was I started JVing after 2008.
Okay.
And the JV partner had the vision on this. I had the contacts, I got the builders, I've got everything else. He had the vision to go ahead and do it. So, and the problem is when you JV, you can't have two bosses.
Right.
You just got to accept one's got to make the decision. Well, that's my view.
Yeah.
You make the decisions, but don't blame me if you make the decisions and you don't like it.
Okay, yeah.
He took it forward. So Barry is really the creator of the whole thing.
Okay.
It was his vision. I would have taken the project on because I could pick it up for nothing, which is the important thing.
Okay.
So I acquired this £2 billion building.
Yeah.
They were happy to hand it over to me. And the reason people are happy to hand these buildings over to you is they are in a very difficult situation because they're being charged business rates on empty property.
Right.
And they are hemorrhaging badly. They're having to pay insurance on the property if they can afford the insurance. And then you've got the danger of vandalism. It's sort of a common sport here. I don't think it's a crime anymore to go into a property, take all the copper and lead out of their property, destroy this building.
Right.
No one seems to care. I mean, it seems to be a non-crime anymore. So they've got that worry. So they just love the fact that you take on the responsibility of the building, take on the responsibility for the business rates.
Right.
I love offices because, as I say to people, what's the difference between an office and a bed sitting room?
Not sure.
A bed.
Right.
So you just need a good supply of beds, go around there. They've got fire doors in, they've got
Right.
fire alarms, they're already compartmentised up.
Right.
Just go around and chuck a few beds in. You've got to get the planning permission, you've got to make sure it's safe.
Right.
Just in case anyone from the council is listening, I'm just saying all you do is chuck a few beds in.
Right.
You've got to make sure you've got the planning.
Right.
To do this, put the beds in. But that is, you don't want to create low-level HMOs. It's okay to start with to
Right.
get yourself going.
Yeah.
But I'm into the high-quality end of the market.
Okay.
People want studios. The world's moving on now.
Yeah.
With get an office building, chuck a few beds in, you'll attract
Yeah.
a level of tenant that is
Hard to manage, maybe.
difficult to manage. You're going to have problems with. You provide an awesome product. What we offer is something like a 4-star hotel.
Right. Okay.
And it's something that people go, wow, this is wonderful. You get the right kind of tenant, and it makes life so much simpler. But it takes investment. But to get a thing moving, you take on the property. So they're there to be had.
So tell me how you JV. So you mentioned Barry. Yeah. So is the JV between you, the landlord, and Barry, or is it something a bit
No,
different?
the landlord, the owner drops out of the picture. They've got rid of their property. They've agreed. You've
Right.
got a contract, that
Yeah.
either delay completion, lease option,
Okay.
or a long lease on the property.
Right.
We do everything else, and generally our JV is the JV puts the money in.
Yeah.
I supply the work, so I do all the work and manage the property.
Right. Okay. I see. Okay. So is people want to look at this project? Is it a website there where we can?
You go and have a look at. It's called Studios 24.
Okay.
Studios 24 Wolverhampton.
Right.
Go and have a look on there. You can see the website. Once a month, I have a little trip round there talking about large HMOs. We call it the Mega HMO Tour. Go on my website. You'll get the dates. It's very modest cost. Come along, spend a day with us, have lunch, and there's a bar at the end, so you can join us for a few drinks afterwards. And we put the worlds to right. It's a really good fun day to come and have a look, see the different strategies. It's now called, we don't talk about HMOs now, that's one of those 3-letter words that we don't talk about.
Right.
We talk about co-living now.
Oh, right. Okay.
Whole new concept.
Yeah.
Where you provide.
You can charge more, can you?
Unfortunately, this part of the world, we're experimenting with it.
Yeah.
In London, they charge almost twice as much
Yeah.
to give a room that's half the size because it's called co-living. Because people want other people. You provide communal facilities, so we provide a bar, washing facilities,
Wow.
membership of local gyms, that type of thing. All get tied into the package. So it's a living concept that they have. So you live in a property and have a community. And which seems to be catching on. How far it's going to go, I don't know. We'll just see. The point is, does this work? And it's a bit like when I started my first HMO, which only had 5 tenants. People looked at me and said, well, where's the demand for HMOs in Wednesbury?
Yeah.
You've got students, but how long are the students going to last? That's dependent on certain courses. I built up a number of HMOs. People say, how far is the demand going to go? I keep doing it. It's very hard to be certain in this business. And people look at it. Will you get the certainty? You don't know. Will you get the finance? You don't know, because lenders are very variable in what they operate. It is a risk, but business is a risk.
Yeah.
You just do what you think is right, and it comes off. And so far, I've been, fingers crossed, very lucky. Everything I've done has worked. But looking back on it, I do wonder why I made some of the decisions I did.
Right. But they paid off.
They paid off.
Okay. Right.
In fact, I almost feel the golden rule in business, in property, the only mistake you can make is not do anything.
Right. Okay.
So most of the mistakes you make get solved. You buy something at the wrong price, inflation brings up and sorts out your pricing problems, rents go up. But you're best to do it right as well as you can with the knowledge you have.
Okay.
What you don't want to do, I had someone talking to me the other day, they bought a couple of HMOs, done them up, they haven't done the maths on it and they can't get the money out.
Right.
Well, you could have told that from the day one, because you can work it out.
You got a formula,
you got a formula for working out how much the property is going to be worth, how much rent you're going to get. You can calculate all that. So you should have known it before you started that the project would never have cashed out.
Right.
You're going to have to leave money in, and if you're happy to leave money in, that's all right. But she needs to get the money out.
Okay. So Jim, so what's, obviously you've got this mega HMO. What does the future hold for HMO Daddy, and what's your plans?
Yeah. See, I've always been asked this ever since a kid. What do you want to do, Jim?
Yeah.
What do you want? I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. I really don't know what I want to do. I'm even now thinking, what do I want to do?
Yeah.
I just get up in the day and do, to a certain extent now, one of the advantages of running your own business is you choose what you want to do.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of training. That's not very particularly profitable. The amount of effort I put into running a course, helping people, I could have umpteen mega HMOs.
Right.
And the profit on a mega HMO is about £1 million a year. I mean, it's an awesome amount of money. You've got to get it done.
Yeah.
And it assumes that it's going to fill up. We can get 220 people in the property.
Yeah.
But when I did it, I looked at it. It broke even on 2 floors. We've got 12 floors to go.
Wow.
So as long as I filled 2 floors, that would cover itself. And people say, well, what are you going to do with the other 10 floors? I said, well, it could become a pigeon loft. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You don't have to use it. It's a bit like chimney pots. Have you looked at a house? Have you turned a house down and said, oh, I can't have that because I have no use for the chimney pots?
Right. Okay.
Or I don't want it because I've got no use for the cellar.
Right. Okay.
Well, you forget the cellar, forget the chimney pots.
Yeah.
And the same happens if it worked on 2 floors.
Yeah.
2 floors would give me 38 tenants.
Yeah.
That paid all the bills.
So the break-even point.
It was the break-even. Get a few more floors, I make a bit more profit. That is as far as I got. There is no great vision in what I've done. You do. I mean, I occasionally set myself targets and objectives, and have been, thankfully, very successful in doing these once you focus on something. But most of the time, I just do what I feel like doing.
Okay.